Hey everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday, our weekday podcast for busy, stressed out Christians who want to do more than just get through the week. I'm Liz Ferks, and this is my husband Evan.
Good morning.
And we're so glad you guys are here with us on this wonderful Monday.
That's right. Happy Monday. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. If you like this episode, or if you think someone else you know would like it, please pass it along to them and share it. We'd really appreciate that.
As you guys know, we work our way through the CSCs. They are adaptations of Peter Ralston's Tai Chi principles that we found are really the difference between thriving and just kind of surviving. Mm-hmm. They are being calm, surrendered, centered, connected, and complete. And we go through one of those each weekday in conjunction with the topic of the week. So just kind of where those intersect. And since it's Monday, our CSC of the day is being calm. And we thought this week we'd talk about doubt.
Yeah, kind of a persistent topic, I think.
Yeah, and I think everybody struggles with doubts on some level.
Mm-hmm. And we've got some pretty great examples from Scripture of people who have overcome doubt and instructions about doubt. So most of this week we're going to be meditating on this passage in the first chapter of James.
It's James 1, 5 through 8. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. But when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. That man should not think he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all he does.
I guess the first question I was thinking of with this topic is just, maybe to try to assess whether we have any doubt lurking anyway, in our relationship with God. And the question might be to ask yourself is, how do I think my relationship with God is even going? Is it thriving? Is it going okay?
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I think of stress as an indicator of doubt.
Sure.
Like anywhere that we're stressed, there's probably some doubts lurking somewhere in there.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about in Matthew 6, Jesus has this whole section about not worrying about, whatever we're going to eat or drink or about our bodies or what we'll wear. It's this whole section, and that's the one where he talks about the lilies of the field and how God clothes them more beautifully than even Solomon. Mm-hmm. And, we know we're not supposed to worry, but we still do.
Yeah.
At least, I do. I was just thinking about that this morning with okay, here's our money situation. How do I still not worry,
So you would start more with, what am I I know what I'm stressed out about. And that means There must be some doubt there.
Right, because I think anywhere that there's stress, that's an indicator that I'm not trusting God to take care of whatever it is. I don't know. I just think that doubt is such a, like it says with the wave of the sea, how it's blown and tossed. And doubt is such a shaky foundation.
Yeah. I guess I was just trying to get at, I think that's a good way to determine whether there's doubt in your life too. It's just a little different, I guess, than mine, where it's just like, well, do I feel like I know God well enough to trust in all the things that I've heard about I'm supposed to trust him about?
Right.
And that might be an interesting place to start too. But yeah, we know we're stressed. Everybody knows what they're stressed out about. And I guess it's a similar question. Okay, well, do I know and trust that God will take care of this thing, this really stressful thing?
Right.
We'll be getting into that more tomorrow. But yeah, so maybe we are talking about more about stress today, being tossed about. That's probably a pretty normal feeling, getting kind of tossed around and pushed around by life.
Right.
And then wondering, where is God in all of this?
Yeah, I think that that's very common. And I think it's so dangerous because, it's easy to get into this pattern where, like that verse says, we doubt, so then God doesn't give us anything, so we feel like God failed us, and so then we doubt even more, and it just becomes this downward spiral where we're seeing God working less and less and feeling more and more alone. And it's hard to get out of that cycle because the only way to stop it is to believe, and I think too that's a trap that's easy to fall into, at least for me.
The just believe trap.
No, there's that. Like, we're going to talk later about how God doesn't call us to just blind faith. Like, there is no such thing in the Bible. God is always calling us to faith in things that he's proven.
Mm-hmm.
So, not necessarily that, but just this idea, at least for me, I look at things and I go, well, I would be less stressed and I would believe more if circumstances were different, Instead of going, okay, this is a heart issue primarily, and that's how I need to deal with it. I need a heart change. Instead, I look at it and go, I need a circumstance change. I would just feel so much better if we had, X amount of money in the bank, or if I had X amount of extra time, or...
name any solution.
Right, whatever it is that I'm stressed about, I come up with a circumstance solution, and that's kind of like a mirage. It doesn't matter how far you walk in that direction, it stays the same distance away.
And it is like those waves too. Like the solution today, maybe tomorrow you think of a better one. And you're like, oh no, that would really fix things, and it's just this barrage of what ifs and hope, kind of false hopes. I think when I feel really tossed around is when I know in my past I've been really good at being this chameleon person where I would kind of be like the people I was hanging around, or I would think like the people I was hanging around, and that caused so my faith would then not be a reflection really of my own faith, but of the people around me and their ideas about God or the situation or whatever. And that definitely felt tossed around because if you're not around the same people every day,
right?
And that wore me out. I got really tired of that because I didn't have any calm of my own.
That is very stressful when you're just relying on other people to give you calm. It's kind of the same thing with circumstances. If you're looking at circumstances to change your heart, it doesn't work very well.
Right. And so then the beginning of that passage is so important, and such a thing is the main thing we got to remember, that we're talking to God here, the author of calm and the giver of faith, about wisdom is what it starts talking about there.
Right. Yeah. I think when we take our doubts to God, it's such a great way to process them. Because when we process them apart from him, we end up further in doubt. But when we can process them with God, he can help us get to a place of faith. I was thinking about in Mark 9, there's a man who brings his son who's possessed by an evil spirit to Jesus' disciples, and they can't cast the spirit out. And the demon is hurting the boy, which would be so hard as a parent,
I know.
It says, whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. And the boy immediately, as soon as Jesus gets there and says, bring the boy to me, then the boy immediately starts going into convulsions and all this kind of stuff. And it says that the demon has often thrown him into fire or water to kill him. And the father says, but if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. If you can, said Jesus, everything is possible for him who believes. Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe, help me overcome my unbelief.
That's a prayer I've prayed many times.
Yeah, I love that. That is just like, okay, I do believe, but help me with this doubt. And it's so great because Jesus does. Like, he goes ahead and casts the demon out. Sometimes we think that faith means having such a certainty that nothing can move us, or that, I don't know. I think faith is way more about actions. And it starts with a heart attitude, but it comes out in actions. And sometimes those doubts is about not acting on those doubts. Like, it's okay to have doubts. Mm-hmm. The problem is when we start being like the wave of the sea, doing one thing, doing the other,
Yeah, and I think we can apply that to all these areas. The areas of, you were talking about earlier about stress in general and how things are going to get solved. If we trust that God's, has all the resources and all the love for us and all the attention that he gives us, that he'll sort things out, like in that passage that you read about the flowers and the birds of the air.
Right.
And also in what I was talking about, how, part of sorting that kind of personality thing for me and like absorbing other people's stuff was realizing that I've been made an individual and on purpose and in a certain way by God, and that's important for me to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
It's not important for me to try to copy everybody around me.
Right.
And and there's doubt. The doubt there is that, well, maybe it would be better if I was more like this person or that person, doubting that I'm made the right way. So it takes faith.
Yeah. And I think, one of the key things to remember is baby steps. Like, if we've been stuck in a cycle of unbelief, it's not about changing the entire cycle. It's about just believing a little bit. Okay. And then keeping a record. That was another thing I had written down, because that has helped me so much to be able to have a record of, here's the things God's taught me. Here's the ways God's worked in my life. And so when I start feeling like, oh no, what if God isn't going to take care of me? Or, what if I misheard God about XYZ? Then I can go back and say, wait, this is what he said. Here's the verse that it was related to. All right, I'm good to go.
Yeah. And that's the blessing of, having life experiences and being able to recall them. But that's also the blessing of having, if we don't have a lot of life experiences, like if we're your child or something, trusting in, what your parents tell you, if they're telling you truthful stuff about faith in the Bible. And then the Bible and its long history of, faithfulness and doubt and things, that we have examples, and the Holy Spirit inside us to constantly remind us that he's there. Yeah,
definitely. I love Hebrews 11, which is called the Hall of Faith. Mm-hmm. And it's just these list of people who believed God, but when you go back and look at them, you're like, wait.
That guy?
Right, yeah. I mean, like Samson's in there, and the thing that he's famous for is, he let Delilah fool him into not following God anymore, and then the Philistines captured him and gouged out his eyes, and then he had a moment of belief at the end of his life where he was like, okay, Lord, please fill me with strength so I can kill all the Philistines here.
Yeah.
That's his moment of belief, and he's in the Hall of Faith,
I think we'll get into it later, that passage more, but it's talking about God giving what we ask for without finding fault. Like, that's
right.
That's amazing to me. That chew on that for a little while.
Seriously. As always, pick whether today is going to be awesome or not, whether you're going to strengthen those neural pathways to look for the good things or to look for the not so good things. It is totally up to you. We love you guys, and we are praying for you. Thanks to everybody that's been listening to the show and sharing the show. We really appreciate it. If you have found this episode helpful, please do share it. Come back tomorrow, and we are going to talk more about how God gives without finding fault.
Yeah, I almost jumped ahead a little bit there. We'll do that tomorrow.
Yep. All right, you guys, have a wonderful Monday.
Yep. See ya.